I think this fits nicely. We have a party of 6 who have come from all over Faerun. And I was wondering if you could give everybody a little Rumswiller tidbit that fits with their character and backstory, something that maybe they should be aware of or might be funny for them to play with.
This is going to be all off the top of your head, Ed, because
We did not ask
you haven't
Ed.
been privy to any of our long conversations about the characters.
You
and
can
you are not
also-
a part of our Slack, and so we're just surprising you. And here
Yes,
we go.
if this is too much, you're also allowed to say no, thank you. I have a
Of course,
hard
or pass and come back to me.
But in my experience, this isn't too hard for you.
No.
I open my mouth and it falls out, he said politely.
Okay, now the only thing is, I don't know everything about everybody, and I also am not 100% sure what's secret about everybody.
Oh.
But should we start with? Let's start with Artemisia. So Artemisia
She's a good one.
She is a half-elf sorceress from Aglarond.
Specifically, dragon magic sorcery.
Yeah.
Okay. Her distant relative is a bronze dragon. Okay, lightning.
Oh.
Does she know that out of curiosity?
Unclear.
Okay.
Well, it's a good thing she doesn't watch this then, eh?
She knows that she has bronze scales that have started to appear on her body, and the more powerful she gets, the more that happens. And she grew up thinking that that was ugly and terrible, and so she tried to hide it whenever possible.
So she should go to Mert to be her doctor. And he'll say, "Oh, it's just a spider bite."
Oh. This is the one. At some point in the past, you may recall, I sent you an email about a Simbark, or her stepmother. She's not a Simbark. She's the other thing. She's the
political issues
What's
about
the almost
Aglarond,
Simbark
because
called?
that's
I
where
don't
she's
remember.
from, and she is a noble from Aglarond.
Autark, yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so
what's a fun realms fact for her?
Fun realms fact is there are at least 16 dragon tombs under Aglarond that have not yet been found.
Oh, I gotta make
and
a
they
note
are
of this.
they are full of magic from dragon hordes, and that's one of the things that aids the symbol, because the symbol knows this, but the symbol being how shall I put this? She has the strength of any 40, the strength of resolve of any 40 wizards. Did not go and plunder them. She just established links through the weave to them, so she can call on their properties to bolster her when she's smiting. So when she's smiting red wizards, and you wonder, how can this one woman in the middle of all these red wizards be going poo, 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 and not falling? It's because she's calling on all these magic items through herself. So they are
just making a note. That's all.
Yeah.
Nothing. No big deal.
So there are dragon tombs, and these are dragon layers in which the dragons died. So their remains are still there. And in one case, they knew they were dying, and they pulled the layer down on top of themselves because they were wasting away of a disease that was robbing them. And they said, "No, I do not want to go like that."
Oh, wow. Okay, cool.
Okay.
Thank you for asking these questions, Erin.
Okay, let's do Stong. Stong is our half-orc bard. He's from the swamps outside Cormyr that I've forgotten the name of. And he has an adopted daughter. Yeah, the big swamp.
Where the marshes have done.
It should be noted that his tribe is called the Makguk tribe, which in the dialect of their particular tribe means murder bear.
Swamp.
Mm-hmm. The vast swamp to the east,
which is the Catoblepis.
Yes, they are named after the local monster, which was a Catoblepis, and they refer to it as a murder bear. So
it was very murdery.
Yes. Okay.
And he is a bard, having discovered an instrument that he believes was played by orcs in times past, and he has set his path to restoring the orcs to their rightful course as musicians and artists in the world.
And his adopted daughter, who he pulled out of the hells, who sums up with.
Right. Her name is Mirabelle.
Okay.
She may or may not have a huge amount of fiery magic. It's unclear.
She
Got
might have
it.
killed a bunch of doppelgangers. That like a bunch.
Yeah, they
Oh.
found her in a room, like trying to drink a cup of milk with like this ring of doppelganger bodies having clearly been blasted away from her. Yeah.
I don't know what's wrong with that.
Never ask to steal my milk again. Right. Okay. So, what would be helpful? Right. Okay. One thing I can tell you is that orcs, no matter what their heritage and no matter what their tribe and their past, respond to particular sort of music. So if the bard can master this, if you want to find out what sort of music it is, watch the opening credits of Crocodile Dundee. There is a drone, somewhat like the didgeridoo drone there, but you might remember that after quite a while, there's a sort of drum noise that's syncopated that goes dum, 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 dum. It's got an irregular beat that is underneath the drone. This is as the chopper is coming towards you and the opening credits are rolling. So if the bard can master that sort of music, it is the same way that if you master a musical motif that has great resonance, like for instance, if you can sing the Yellow Rose of Texas in a busy airport in Frankfurt, and the people from Texas their heads will snap around, you know, or for Canadians, it's being able to sing the Hockey Night in Canada theme in a busy airport, and Canadian heads will snap around. It's a recognition signal, and it has them on your side. So it doesn't matter what you look like or act like. Hey, you're somebody interesting. You're somebody they should hang around. You're somebody who they can learn stuff from. You must be in the know. And you might even have orc shaman sort of shadowing you, because hey, if he knows that sort of stuff, what else does he know? Where did he learn it? Yeah. So I mean, that could be a. Yeah.
I made a note of that.
I feel like this is how Stong discovers what he's going to disrupt next. Change it up.
Nice.
I don't know. Okay, Stirge. That Stirge has a lot going on.
Stirge is a kind of weird one. He
what
is ostensibly
That
human.
makes him stand out.
He is ostensibly human. As far as we know, he is human. He is an arcane trickster, and he has
As far
sort of
as we know, he's human.
Well, he has a very long nose. His nose is at least 8 inches long.
Like we're talking like Cerno to Bergerac all the way.
You do know that used to be a standing joke in the Marines. Well, that guy down the end, yeah, we think he's human.
Anyway, Stirge is very lanky and angular. He is a eunuch, having been deprived of his genitalia very early in his life. I'm not sure everyone knows that, but that is the case with Stirge.
So he's overcompensating.
Constantly.
He's overcompensating with the nose.
Maybe.
It could really be anything.
When he first appeared, Stephen, who plays Stirge, described him as he's like a 13-year-old boy with 0 body hair, but like as an adult. And we're like,
it's like Kylo Ren cosplaying a snake, but with no body.
Yes. Okay. Anyway, that's what he looks like.
I know exactly what Torm of the Knights would be doing with him. Cross-dressing him and tossing him into all sorts of situations.
Oh yes,
Watch the fun.
Stirge would love it. Stirge is an actor.
Yes.
His real name is Crabben Gleer, which, what did he tell us that it meant? It
I
meant
forget. It's Elvish.
Yeah, it's like an Elvish name that means some sort of beautiful, ostentatious thing. And he goes, just call me Stirge. It's fine.
Oh,
He
okay.
also has issues with his dad.
Yes,
a lot.
he has issues with his dad, mostly that he doesn't really know much about his family, and he loves magic.
A lot.
Like,
A lot.
When he
Like a lot.
when there's a battle going on, he will take
He
take
sleeps with
an
magic
action.
items.
He sleeps with magic items. That's one of the things. Like whenever he finds a new magic item, he will cuddle it and sleep with it.
And
he will
you
ask
were warning me about the town crier?
he will
We
ask
have
the
to warn
other
him.
PCs if he can borrow their magic items to sleep with. That's only happened a couple times.
And the other thing is that we've had a little side trip where we went to, remind me of where? There was the Elven Ruins,
Oh my gosh.
and we met the
Now I forgot the name of it.
Baelnorn.
Yes.
Baelnorn? Yeah. Who said she
Baelnorn,
was his
yes.
great-grandma.
Right.
Great-great-great-great-grandma.
She's related to him in some way. There's this ancient Baelnorn.
It's the nose. She knows.
Maybe. Who recognizes him as one of her descendants. I forgot the name of that town. I'm going to look it up.
Okay.
It's on the Dragon Coast. Let's see. I'll find the name of it. Anyway, that's what we know about him. So tell us something about actors in the realms, or why someone might have a really long nose.
Baelnorn's on the Dragon Coast, you know.
Baelnorn's on the Dragon Coast.
Oh boy, there aren't too many of those.
Yeah, I know.
Most of them were further inland because
Mhm.
there wasn't a huge elvish presence on the coast. Once they hit the coast, they were Evermeet, boom. So yeah, there aren't too many Baelnorn because they guard tombs.
Did his
It
family
was
get
the
kicked out of
ruined
Evermeet?
city of Pros
Oh,
on the
yeah.
Dragon Coast. Not
Yeah.
Proskor. Proskor
Yeah.
is a different place. Pros.
Yes.
Pros.
Yes. Okay. Okay. So, actors in the realms. My goodness, what can I tell you? I can tell you that I once pitched to Brian Thompson a idea for a trilogy of novels following a traveling troupe of actors in the realms. And he said, no, absolutely not. And then swiped it for once around the realms. No, it was okay. We had a good laugh over it. Yeah, we had a good laugh over it. But
wow.
But I said, Brian, I could have shown you how they're the secret message takers. You see, the temples deliver messages like the U.S. Postal Service. The problem with it's like everything's on postcards. So every postie has read your message. So you're not going to say, my dearest, your naughty bits are like the first flowers of spring, knowing that every postie is going to go, get this one. But an actor that you've tipped after a good performance and bought dinner for, and actors are always up for that because they're starving, and even better, shared a bed with, not necessarily for carnal purposes, but because it saved them a night's accommodation somewhere. And you say, I will give you this much if you deliver this message, and I will double it in payment when the reply comes back to me, which sort of guarantees that they'll deliver it.
Stirge has got a side hustle.
Yeah, this could be a side hustle, but I mean, it's something that a lot of actors do. The other things that actors do is actors hire themselves out as paid mourners.
He would totally do that.
And there's something else they do, which is what I call advanced paid mourning. Instead of coming to the graveside to weep and wail, they lurk farther away in the burial ground and act mysterious and wear weird costumes. So if you want other people to think that the deceased had something to do with the Red Wizards or the Zentarum or a lich, you hire an actor to dress up appropriately and sort of lurk. And in some cases, the actor, if they have the skills, you can trust them to behave, can walk forward into the middle of the ceremony and peer down into the grave, perhaps spit on the coffin or whatever, or just peer down, and then when the presiding clergy says, do you mind, they can say, Just making sure, Father. Whirl the cloak and walk away.
I feel like this couldn't be more perfect if Stephen had made it up specifically.
That is absolutely what he would do.
It is. It feels very true. Oh my goodness.
Okay.
And then, of
you.
course, actors also undertake more dangerous work of pretending to be the lover of somebody in order to facilitate a divorce breakup.
Mm.
All that sort of stuff. That's more dangerous because you have to be able to outrun angry husbands.
You got
or
another
angry
Long
wives.
Strider spell. Yeah.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
He did just get that spell.
And
That would kind of work because he's
he's
in
an
some
arcane
ways
trickster wizard.
he's non-threatening.
He has cunning action, so he can get real far, real
That
fast.
disguised self, he can make himself look all hunky and plausible.
There you go. And there is a famous scene that was taken out of an early Realms novel when I had Mert come into a scene, and he was taken out because Mert didn't otherwise appear in the novel. This is one of the early ones where Jeff Grubb told me, put in all the characters, show us the realms, give everybody cameos because you're setting up everybody else's novels.
Oh my god, that would be exhausting.
And then I did it, and then they changed their minds, and then they wanted all the characters who just had 1 or 2 cameos taken out because they didn't appear the rest of the book. What was the point? And I agree with that as a storyteller, but I lost the great Mert scene where he walks in and somebody says, Mert, why are you walking funny? And Mert reaches to his behind, pulls out a skillet that's been inserted hard and accurately, and said, I'm getting too old for this. I can't run fast enough.
Oh my god.
Okay.
Oh, okay. So
an angry wife, and it was a hot skillet with fish in it.
Oh god.
And she wasn't quite fast enough to catch him and take him to the ground because he's a huge lumbering guy, but she was fast enough to reach him, so she thrust.
Oh god. Oh god.
And then Mert said, anybody want some slightly used fish?
Ew.
And apparently the editor said, underlined it and said something along the lines of, I had no idea Canadians were so.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
Well, that's
so
3 out of the 6 characters.
Well, I thought Erin should hear an editing story. Another editing story.
I feel like at some point I'd be like, Jeff, seriously, we're not doing this. There's buttfish. Nope. Okay, so Rogar. I think you love Rogar.
Buttfish is found in the Sea of Swords.
Rogar is our dwarf cleric. He is a mountain dwarf. Is that right? Okay.
He's a hill dwarf.
Hill dwarf. Okay.
Yeah.
I honestly mix those up all the
Little
time.
mountains.
Well, the way Randy does dwarves is that the dwarves have different accents depending on
He's a Scottish accent
dwarf.
I did hear that podcast. I heard that podcast. Yeah. I was wincing.
Also, gnomes are all Australian because they're from down under the ground. Yeah. Anyway.
Right. A smooth set of little criminals. Yeah.
So the Rogar is from the
he worships
Sharinlar,
the dwarven goddess of life and fertility and marriage, and in his estimation, love as well.
But specifically because is he from the Great Rift? Is that right?
I believe that's his backstory.
So then they fill the under. Oh my god, is it the underchasm? Why can't I remember anything? We've been doing this too long.
So the recent upheavals have diminished the dwarven population, specifically in the Great Rift.
Yes.
So worship of Sharinlar.
His temple of Sharinlar has expanded its purview to be encouraging marriage and procreation. And so Rogar is essentially a dwarven sex priest.
Very repressed
priest.
Dwarven sex priest.
very repressed because he
Yeah.
has
My
certain
knees
feelings.
feel violated.
Yes, he has certain feelings about folk that he should not be having feelings for based on what the temple has told him.
Rogar is not interested in the more procreative kind of sex.
Yes. Rogar
it
has
that.
met several dwarven women and he is not really impressed. He has met non-dwarven women and been interested, and he has met a number of male folk of various races and been much more impressed.
But he believes that everybody should lie back and think of the dwarven race
So,
and make
so
those babies.
his arc is about sexual discovery and embracing what his heart wants and what his duty demands.
And can I tell you, Randy created a dwarven holy text that's basically the dwarven Kama Sutra that is called Happy Earthquakes.
Right.
Got it.
I thought you would be pleased.
I am very pleased. I am.
He's looking for
I am
the apocrypha.
the earth moved. I mean, I could get very tasteless here and say, well, what he obviously needs is some suction cups and a stepladder. But
God.
That doesn't feel like a Realms Lord jewel factoid. That feels like
doesn't
life
it?
lesson.
Oh dear.
So, if you could tell us something about how dwarves view relationships or marriage or fertility, or you want to tell us something that might be discussed in Happy Earthquakes,
Where you might find dwarven holy texts, because
right?
maybe
Something
there's
like that.
something secret.
Okay, so the dwarves. I have to be careful here because there are NDAs because TSR has purchased and received dwarven marriage rituals and ceremonies and then not published them.
Oh, that's neat.
Wow.
So, yeah, so I mean, I can't just go off and say, all right, here they all are, because I keep getting
Do
asked
it
about
anyway.
that. Yeah.
TSR's gone. They can't sue you.
Well, no, but WotC, the same way that WotC inherited the realms, otherwise the realms reverts to me.
Mhm.
So they have to sort of inherit all the stuff that goes with it, all the NDAs, all the, you can't cherry pick because the moment you do, then lawyers say, oh, well, our client just wants this property. It's called the Forgotten Realms, so he just wants it back. If you're cherry picking, so it's got to be all or nothing. So anyway,
Fair,
okay,
fair.
let us move to I borrowed from real world history the idea of you could be married to an axe as a child.
Interesting.
Okay, in some past cultures, if there was an arranged marriage, particularly two younglings who are too young to travel long distances, and it's a dynastic tie marriage, like you're the prince of so and so and you're 6 months old, and your father got together with his other father and decided to paper over what was going on by having a marriage with a princess or whatever. And what happens is they carry an axe or a token to be put into bed beside the other one, and they perform the marriage ceremony. Okay, you're now married, and even though you're not going to see them for years or maybe if ever, but I borrowed that for the dwarves in the realms, that you could have axe weddings. And then of course in Happy Earthquakes would be a chapter on achieving pleasure when you're sharing your bed with a weapon or tool rather than a person.
Okay.
I'm
Nice.
trying to keep this PG-13, but I mean that would be something. But that would be a general knowledge thing. It wouldn't be something that this character could take special knowledge of. It would be something anybody who read that holy book. Now the holy books of the dwarves are written on stones, stone tablets, rune stones. So a dwarven library, those lovely open plate racks in kitchen walls, where you have all these slots and your rows of plates are there. Well, the
Right.
dwarven library is somewhat like that. It's rows of thin stone, and they're usually not slate, but they try and make them as thin as possible, graven both sides with. So that's your that. Oh, excuse me, I need the next book in the series. Next slab, and there are dwarves who are put to work learning to read and write by laboriously copying little bits of text, because of necessity, a runestone contains a small amount of text. And then there are also Dwarven jewelers. And this is where you write long texts. The Dwarven jewelers learn how to engrave very tiny runes on metals that will last forever. Oh, forever in quotation marks, but alloys that will not rust and so on. And then they are treated with Everbright, and they're treated with shine so they will not rust. And that's where you get a sizable book on a sheet of metal rather than a big honking stone tablet.
Like
So-
a shield, or like
Well,
a suit of armor.
it's more like a thin metal plate that could be
Hmm.
slipped onto the inside of a shield, or
Hmm.
slipped inside the breastplate of a suit of armor, or the breast and back, or whatever. So you could actually carry it out of the burning stronghold in the middle of the battle wearing it. And unless you inconsiderately got blood all over it because somebody put a spear through you, you get away with the priceless writings.
Interesting.
Okay. Yeah. So
Okay.
and these are true treasure to a dwarf. They are hidden everywhere. By the way, dwarves who are living in human cities, gnomes do this too, halflings do this too, but dwarves do it best. They have two sorts of ways of keeping their wealth. They keep a small amount of coin on hand for spending, like the rest of us. Everything else they melt down because they have their own dyes for making new coins, punches, stamps, so they can counterfeit coins anywhere, because to a dwarf, it's not counterfeiting. Hey, this is what we do.
I love that.
So what they
It's
do
still a coin.
is they melt down everything, and then they hammer it out into very thin sheets like foil, and then they build it into their walls.
Huh.
Which is why dwarves tend to always wallpaper and panel a Waterdeep apartment when they take it over, and there's a thin sheet of gold behind every wall, and that's their wealth.
Interesting.
Huh.
And again, if
Neat.
they have to move in a hurry, you line something with it, or you take it off the wall and you literally roll yourself a suit of armor because it's so thin. You roll yourself leggings by hand. And just get dressed, then put your clothes on over it and walk out.
It's
And
like
then-
dressing yourself in a roll of duct tape, right?
Yeah, exactly. And then when the guard says, "Hey, let's see what you're carrying," you hand him your purse, and he goes, "And the other one," and you give him a dirty look, and you hand him the second purse, and he takes them both and confiscates them and says, "All right, on your way." And then you walk away and get 3 blocks away before you go, "Ah, you fool," because you're carrying it. Now that's the other thing. That's where the origin of the thing is. Dwarves wipe their behinds with golden toilet paper.
That seems very inefficient.
It means somebody got caught short wearing one of these things.
I'm
funny.
getting hassled by my eldest child
I can
because
see
I'm
that.
taking longer than I said I would. So you can do the last 2 a little quick so I can
Last 2.
go sort him out. So Kayleth, you have already got some background on. She is our Bladesinger. She's an Avariel. She's extremely shady. She is studying necromancy. She has I don't think you'll approve of her boyfriend, who she says is not her boyfriend, who is a necromancer.
Yeah, he's a human necromancer who has replaced his limbs with zombie limbs.
All of them?
At least
All
his arms.
4
That's
of
all we
them that we know of.
Okay.
And she has, in the past, it seems, burnt down some libraries.
Got
That
it.
is true. Or been involved in burning of
Yes.
libraries. And I had decided that, and this is on the character sheet I sent to Ed too, that Kayleth's family is either recently from or moved to at some point in the past Evermeet. So that's where Erevan, Kayleth's father, comes from or is coming from at the moment. That doesn't mean you lived there originally. Like you might have come from some other place elsewhere in the realms and just moved to Evermeet. to embrace your power and learn about how to use your great magical talents. So,
Right. So, background, something useful that Kayleth would like to know. Ha. I almost feel like I should slide to the necromancy and okay.
Follow your
There
heart.
are there is a spell, Nulathos Ninemen, known amongst dwarves as Nulathos Nine Men, which has been in the realm since the 1970s, which was the spell that makes things not deteriorate. So if you turn a human into a skeleton, they don't fall apart at the joints because of that spell. If your zombie's rotting and each time it takes a step, large chunks of flesh are falling off it, and you want this to stop, they still go on rotting. They just stick onto the bones. You cast that spell. That spell has been around forever. Lots of Nulathoe apostrophe S.
You can write it down.
Yeah.
Sometime.
Yeah. Anyway, it's in published realms lore, and from early on. Okay, I think the first time was in Pages from the Mages, or maybe it was in
probably
the Magister. It might be in the Magister. Anyway.
I have a copy of the Magister somewhere. All right, I'm gonna look for it.
Okay, so the spell has been around forever. It's like Fireball or Dancing Lights. Everybody's had a go at this. So necromancers use it for all sorts of things. And here's the secret: if you craft your own variant, you can use it on the living. Meaning, you get a bad cut and something's falling off, like somebody cut through your finger and you're holding the sword, you can stick it back on. It doesn't fix it. It literally sticks it back on and staunches the blood loss. So you still have to get healed, but you don't have to leave it behind. So somebody cuts your leg off,
useful.
And you need to walk on that leg, so you can stick it back on. She should put her boyfriend into trying to find the variants of this spell that various
Kayleth
people
can find it herself.
Yeah, or come up with one. Yeah.
If any library will let her in.
Yeah, because it is incredibly useful, and you can also use it for other things, as in unscrupulous and unethical people who have come across the spell have used it to stick limbs and other body parts to them that do not in fact belong to them. So they can carry extra things out. It's like the ultimate shoplifter spell. Only shoplifter at the morgue. Just in case you needed extra fingers, or an extra spleen, or an extra you got to get ahead in this world.
Oh.
Sorry.
That is definitely a spell that Aiden would use. Yeah. It's possible that is the spell Aiden has been using.
Is that the face you're making right now?
Just saying.
Oh,
well, it came up in the battle last week that Aiden had pulled the classic sleeping death maneuver, which is where he casts feign death on himself so that he can be carried around in his own bag of holding, which is otherwise full of zombies. And so Kayleth has this bag of holding and she dumps it out, producing 3 zombies and Aiden's dead body onto the ground. And then she's like, okay, how do I wake him up? I got to wake him up somehow so that he can help us. Do we do dispel magic on him? And Erin pointed out, we're not really sure how all his limbs stay on. So you might not want to do that.
We might end up with a torso.
It's a torso job.
Kayleth ended up waking up Aiden by kissing him. Which everyone was like, no, and Aiden's like, I didn't set it that way. That just happens to break lots of spells. Okay. I
don't know. They're taking it very slow. She keeps insisting he's not her boyfriend. We tried to
Kisses
vampiric.
for daddy. No
we
tongue.
tried to.
No
Well,
tongue.
that was
vampiric touch, and she
option
was like,
2.
"Excuse me."
Option 1 was slapping him awake, and that didn't work. So then she went to the option 2, which was the kissing. Yeah, one
Right.
of their
He's not into bondage and dismal. Okay.
one of their first interactions was Kayleth being injured, and Aiden said, "Oh no, you're hurt. Cast vampiric touch on me."
Yeah, she was like, "I'm sorry, I'm not ready for this."
Yeah, I'm sorry, we're moving too fast here.
It's like necromancer, like
That's
move in.
second
With your
date
key.
material, guy.
Oh.
All right, shall we
right.
talk about our sixth and last but not least?
So that is me. That is Tsetseliya, who is a Rashemi witch for sure. Definitely.
Definitely a witch. Definitely
Except
not
we
a
have-
warlock. Why would
We
you
have,
say that?
You know, it's a filthy lie. Except at this point, we have revealed, at least to Artemisia, who is her half sister, that she is actually a warlock bound to the archfey known as Haranawachu, the Heart of the Piercing, from Mark Sehestet's excellent Chosen of Nenduin series.
Yeah.
So her father is Rashemi. Her father, this is not actually something that we've said, but I don't think it's a big deal to share it, is Vermiani. And her mother is this elf that no one knows where the heck she is.
Well.
Except the DM. Tsetseliya is lies about a lot. So I'm kind of trying to remember what I've said and what I.
She's a
told lies
charlatan
about.
background.
Yeah.
Okay. And one of if you don't mind me saying so, one of Tsetseliya's defining characteristics is that she's very suspicious
Oh yes.
of a lot of people because a
She'll
con
trust
knows a
everybody.
con, and she is in Westgate, which is full of con artists.
Oh yes. Tsetseliya has been disappointed by many rounds of people pretending to be helpful and generous and not being anything like that. So she has encountered many of the magic users of Rashomon, and is now not there. And she the other bit is that because the Heart of the Piercing she's made this pact, and it is an agreement, where you give me some power and I'll just do this one job for you. I'll find my sister. Cool. And then she's like, okay, wait, but now you have another job. So she did spend a year, half in the Feywild, half in what's the demon? Narfell. It was Narfell?
I believe so.
About Narfell.
I just described it as the endless winter.
Yeah, we keep saying her gap year in the frozen north.
Yeah. Or the frozen east, or it's unclear.
Well, for Westgate, it's kind of both, right?
Yeah.
So, fighting red wizards alongside certain Harper characters, but those are my Harper characters because. And now she has a friend who is the Knight of the Heart of the Piercing.
And it should be noted that she has some sort of connection with a particular special kind of elf called a Lithari, right? And her constant, somewhat unwelcome companion is a Lithari paladin, who is also supposedly a warlock in service to the Heart of the Piercing.
Got it.
Considers them pack.
So it seems like some things you could use.
So what would you like to know, Erin, being as you're here?
Man, I don't know.
And your dungeon master's like right over there.
That's right. And I gotta abide by what Ed says. It's in his contract.
Yeah. There you go. It's this is your chance.
Something about Rashomon.
Yeah,
something about Lithari.
I'm like, if there's a thing that a detail you could give to my DM here, it would be what would make the Wicklaren, or their less savory counterparts, leave Rashomon and go looking for someone.
There are so many scandals papered over among the senior Rashemi in the past. People who did things that scandalized their matriarch elders, feuds that were papered over and people left to solve the feud, as in, I will kill you if I find you still here by nightfall. Off they go, never to return across the realms. There are like a dozen of those major ones. Like this is to put it in modern real world context. If there were major scandals involving capital crimes with every living president, and you knew them all, and could get to the right place to sort of use leverage on people to tell somebody that you knew about them and could produce evidence that would stand up, I just need you to do this for me in return. And of course, the danger is the safe thing to do is to silence you forever if that situation arises, because who knows if the blackmailer will blackmail a second time, where will it end, sort of thing. But there are lots of things that if you knew the right names, and one of the names is Thagdal, Thagdal, who is a male from Rashomon, who left Rashomon, and it would appear that he left Rashomon for reasons involving illicit love affairs for several senior female Rashemi, and dabbling in magic he shouldn't have done, and taking magic items with him when he was persuaded to get out of town. And the scandal on top of that is that several senior Rashemi females seem to know where in the realms he is and go to be with him from time to time. And it's like, you did what? It's sort of like if you were a young, beautiful woman in the Kennedy family and you knew where an escaped, serial killer was, and you went to spend, have dirty weekends in a cabin with him, and everybody on the hill knew about it, but they didn't know where, but you do. You see that it's that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
There's a lot of that. So if you know the right names to drop, you can get senior Rashemi females to aid you, support you, get things for you. Like, I need a tent. I need a tent in a hurry, or I need 16 healing potions. I'm dying here. Instead of saying, good, die, you'll say, Thagdal. And they'll go, Thagdal! And then you'll have your 16 healing potions. So if you know the right thing, you can get a lot of very unwilling aid.
Interesting.
Yeah, there's
Interesting.
all sorts of things. But
Well,
you have to learn the right names. So you have to consort with the right people.
mm,
I feel like certain people who've been around in the realms for a long time, even though they might have wasted some time recently on Evermeet,
Oh boy.
take your dungeon master, toss him into the hot, deep end of the soup, and stir, and the gnocchi will be done.
oh my goodness. Well, on that note, shall we wrap up?
I think so.
Hey, sorry, Idris.
Nah, he's gone.
Oh, good. Oh, well. So we can keep going.
Nah, but I gotta go in.
There's an escape door behind you. I can see it from here. Oh, no, it's a window.
Well,
Crying when I told him to bug off.
thank
so.
you very much, Ed.
Canada's only a short distance away. You can get across the closed border. They're not looking. It's closed.
Yeah, but it's like the wrong side of Canada.
Yeah, then we have to go across all of Canada.
Oh, yeah. And the bit through the prairies, God, is that boring. Oh, boy. Yeah, okay.
Right.
Well, thank you for coming on the interview, Ed.
Thank you. This
we
was
meant
fun.
to talk. Yeah, we meant to talk with you for like half an hour or maybe an hour, and we ended up talking to you for 2.5 hours.
Oh my
so
God.
That's been
No
amazing.
wonder he was getting
Nobody's
impatient.
banging on the door and making sad faces at me. Yep. Okay.
Oh, poor Idris. Idris is the
He'll
MVP
survive.
of this interview, and he didn't even say anything on the interview.
Idris, you have to share your mom with all these crazy guys. It is the nature of mummies to have to spend time with crazy guys.
I guess.
I don't think he believes any of that.
And Erin, thank you for co-interviewing on this interview. I feel like you
Thank
took
you,
the
too.
point and the lead, and that was pretty great. I really appreciate your
You
help.
have to interview so much. So
I
if you ever want to
understand.
tag team,
Okay, well,
I'm fresh still.
we will definitely talk about it.
Oh, Ed. Oh my God.
Ed's making the faces.
I was being so good. I was seeing that town crier
Right.
coming up with the red hot poker and the lube.
Thank you to Yang Yang Wang for doing all the tech stuff. He's been great. He's also been messaging us in the chat like, "Oh my God, I can't believe he said that." That's great. And thank you to you, our audience, for sticking with it and listening to this interview. It's been real fun, and thank you for helping us with our campaign.
I'd like to thank Yang Yang for all the editing he's now going to have to do.
Also apologize to
when we
Yang
say-
Yang for all the editing he's now going to have to do.
I think this is also when we're supposed to say like and subscribe.
Yeah, like and subscribe, I guess. Follow us on Twitter. We became Twitch affiliates in our first live episode on Twitch, which is amazing. Thank you very much. That's something that you did, audience, and we're looking forward to bringing you more, even cooler things. And yeah, keep coming along with us.